The power went out at exactly 9:47 p.m. I know because I was staring at my phone, pretending to scroll through social media while actually watching Maya from the corner of my eye. She sat cross-legged on my bedroom floor, her dark hair falling like a curtain as she leaned over her laptop, completely absorbed in whatever she was working on. We'd been assigned as partners for our senior project 3 weeks ago, and every Tuesday and Thursday night since then she'd come to my apartment to work. Always professional, always friendly, always keeping just enough distance that I couldn't tell if the electricity I felt between us was real or just wishful thinking on my part. Then the lights died, and suddenly the only illumination came from our laptop screens and the storm raging outside my window. "Well," Maya said, her voice cutting through the darkness. "That's dramatic timing." I laughed, more nervous than amused. "The weather report said this storm would be bad. I didn't think we'd actually lose power though. Do you have candles?" "Yeah, in the kitchen." "Let me grab some." I fumbled my way through the darkened apartment, my heart beating harder than it should have been. It was just a power outage. Just me and Maya, alone in my apartment, in the dark. Nothing I hadn't imagined 100 times before. Though usually my imagination took a very different direction than hunting for emergency candles. When I returned with an armful of mismatched candles and a lighter, Maya had moved to sit on my bed, her laptop closed beside her. The glow from her phone screen illuminated her face from below, creating shadows that made her look mysterious and beautiful. "Here," I said, setting candles on my dresser, nightstand, and desk. As I lit them one by one, warm light filled the room. Softer and more intimate than the overhead fixture had been. Maya watched me, and I could feel her gaze like a physical touch. When I finally sat down beside her on the bed, leaving what I thought was a respectful distance between us, she smiled. "This is kind of nice," she said. "Romantic, even." My breath caught. "Romantic?" "The candles, the storm." She gestured toward the window where rain lashed against the glass. "It's very gothic novel. All we need is a mysterious stranger and some forbidden love." I couldn't tell if she was teasing me or testing the waters. For 3 weeks, I'd been so careful, so determined not to let my attraction show, not to make things awkward, not to risk the easy friendship we'd developed. But something about the darkness, the candlelight, the way she was looking at me made me brave. "What if the stranger isn't so mysterious?" I asked quietly. "What if she's been sitting in your classes for 2 years, too afraid to say anything?" Maya's eyes widened. "The air between us seemed to thicken, Sarah," she whispered. And the way she said my name made my skin tingle. "I'm sorry," I said quickly, suddenly terrified. "I shouldn't have. I just thought maybe." "Don't apologize." She shifted closer, close enough that I could smell her perfume, something floral and subtle. "Do you know why I always sit on the floor instead of on your bed?" I shook my head, not trusting my voice, "because I didn't trust myself to sit this close to you." Her hand found mine in the dim light, our fingers intertwining. "I've wanted to touch you since the first night I came here. I've been driving myself crazy trying to stay professional, trying not to stare at you, trying to convince myself that I was imagining the way you looked at me. You weren't imagining it." I breathed. The storm chose that moment to intensify, thunder rolling so loud it shook the windows. We both jumped, then laughed, the tension breaking just enough for me to gather my courage. "Can I kiss you?" I asked. "I was hoping you would." Our first kiss was gentle, tentative, both of us still half afraid this was some kind of wonderful mistake. Her lips were soft against mine, and she tasted like the peppermint tea she'd been drinking earlier. When we pulled apart, we were both smiling. "Wow," Maya said. "Yeah, so? We should probably talk about this, right? Before we, I mean. If we're going to." She stumbled over her words in a way that was completely endearing. "Probably." I agreed, though talking was the last thing I wanted to do when she was this close. When I could still feel the ghost of her lips on mine, we rearranged ourselves, sitting cross-legged facing each other on my bed. The candles flickered, casting dancing shadows on the walls. Outside, the storm continued its symphony of wind and rain and thunder. "I should tell you something," Maya began, her fingers nervously playing with the hem of her shirt. I've dated guys before, but I've never been with a woman. I've known I was into women for a while now, but I haven't acted on it." "Is that why you seemed so careful around me?" I asked. "I thought maybe you could tell I liked you and you were trying to let me down gently." She laughed, a warm sound that made my chest feel full. "God, no. I was trying not to be too obvious. I kept thinking you must have figured it out from the way I looked at you. Apparently I'm better at hiding it than I thought, or I'm just oblivious." I suggested. "My roommate told me last week that you were obviously into me, and I told her she was reading too much into things." "Where's your roommate, by the way?" "At her boyfriend's place. She usually stays there on weekends." I paused. "We have the apartment to ourselves." The implication hung in the air between us. Maya's eyes darkened with something that might have been desire, might have been fear. Might have been both. I want to be honest with you, she said softly. I'm nervous. I've thought about this about you so many times, but now that it's actually happening, I'm scared I'll do something wrong or I took her hands in mine, stopping her spiral. Maya, we don't have to do anything you're not ready for. We can just talk or kiss or go back to working on our project. There's no pressure, I know. And I appreciate that. But I don't want to just talk. She bit her lip, a gesture I found impossibly attractive. I've been half in love with you since the semester started. I feel like I've been waiting for this moment forever. And now I don't want to waste it being scared. My heart was pounding so hard I was sure she could hear it. Half in love? Maybe more than half, she admitted, her cheeks flushing pink in the candlelight. Is that crazy? We've only really known each other for 3 weeks. It's not crazy. I moved closer. Until our knees were touching. I think I've been falling for you since the first time I saw you in intro to psychology sophomore year. You sat 2 rows ahead of me and always asked the most interesting questions. You remember that? I remember everything about you. The words came out more intensely than I'd intended. But they were true. The way you twist your hair when you're thinking. How you always order chamomile tea at the coffee shop. The fact that you're left-handed but you wear your watch on your left wrist anyway. The sound of your laugh when something genuinely surprises you. Maya's eyes were bright with unshed tears. Sarah, I'm not trying to freak you out, I said quickly. I just want you to know that this isn't casual for me. If we cross this line it means something good, she whispered. I want it to mean something. She kissed me this time, less tentative than before. Her hands coming up to cup my face. I melted into her, my arms wrapping around her waist, pulling her closer. The kiss deepened and I felt her tongue trace my lower lip, seeking permission. I opened for her, and the soft sound she made when our tongues met sent heat coursing through my body. We explored each other slowly, learning the landscape of lips and teeth and breath. Her hands moved from my face to my hair, fingers tangling in the strands. I let my hands roam over her back, feeling the curve of her spine through her shirt. The way her muscles tensed and released under my touch when we finally broke apart. We were both breathing hard. Maya started. Then seemed to lose her nerve. What do you want? I asked gently. I want to see you. Her voice was barely above a whisper. All of you. My pulse was racing. I'd imagined this moment in a dozen different ways. But the reality was so much better and more terrifying than any fantasy. Okay, I said, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. But you too. I want to see you too. We stood, facing each other beside the bed. The storm outside had settled into a steady rain and thunder rumbled in the distance, growing quieter. In the candlelight, Maya looked like something out of a dream. I reached for the hem of my shirt, then paused. Together? She nodded, her hands mirroring mine. We lifted our shirts in unison, slowly, maintaining eye contact until the fabric passed over our heads and we dropped them on the floor. I stood there in my simple black bra, suddenly hyper-aware of every imperfection, every insecurity I'd ever had about my body. But the way Maya looked at me made all of that disappear. You're beautiful, she breathed. And I could tell she meant it. So are you. It was inadequate, but words felt insufficient for what I was feeling. She was gorgeous, her skin golden in the candlelight, her curves perfect, her eyes dark with want. We moved together again, and the sensation of skin on skin was electric. I could feel her heartbeat against my chest, rapid and strong, matching my own. We kissed again, slower this time, savoring it. My hands found the clasp of her bra and I paused. Is this okay? Yes, she whispered against my lips. Please, I fumbled with the clasp. My hands were shaking but finally got it undone. She shrugged out of it and I took a moment just to look at her, to memorize this moment. Her standing before me, vulnerable and trusting and so achingly beautiful. She reached around and unclasped my bra and then we were both topless, pressed together. The feeling of her breasts against mine so overwhelmingly intimate that I gasped. Still okay? I managed to ask. More than okay, she said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. I can't even describe it. I know, I said, because I did. There were no words for the way my entire body seemed to be singing. Every nerve ending alive and aware. We made our way back to the bed. A tangle of limbs and kisses and whispered words. I guided her down, hovering over her, supporting myself on my elbows so I could look down at her face. Are you sure about this? I asked one more time. We can stop whenever you want, I'm sure. She pulled me down for another kiss. I trust you. We took our time, exploring each other with hands and lips and whispered encouragement. I learned that Maya was ticklish just below her ribs, that she made the most wonderful sounds when I kissed her neck, that she was both bold and shy in turns, confident one moment and seeking reassurance the next. I kissed my way down her body, pausing to lavish attention on her breasts, learning what made her arch into my touch, what made her breath catch. When my hand moved to the button of her jeans, I looked up at her. Yes? I asked. Yes, she confirmed, her voice husky. I unbuttoned her jeans and helped her out of them, along with her underwear, until she was completely bare before me. She was perfect, every inch of her. And I told her so until she was blushing and laughing and telling me to stop talking and come back up here. I obliged, kissing her deeply as my hand trailed down her stomach, over her hip, to the inside of her thigh. She trembled under my touch, her legs parting in invitation. Tell me what feels good, I murmured against her ear. Tell me what you want, touch me, she breathed. Please, Sarah, I didn't make her finish the sentence. My fingers found her center and she was so warm, so ready. I touched her gently at first, exploring, learning her responses. She gasped when I found her clit, her hips bucking up into my hand. Like this? I asked, circling slowly. Yes, she moaned. Oh God, yes, just like that. I maintained the rhythm she seemed to like, watching her face in the candlelight, mesmerized by the expressions of pleasure flickering across her features. Her breathing quickened and her hands gripped my shoulders. Don't stop, she pleaded. Please don't stop, I'm so close. I increased the pressure slightly and she cried out, her body tensing and then releasing as she came, wave after wave of pleasure washing over her. I held her through it, murmuring reassurances, telling her how beautiful she was, how amazing. When she finally stilled, she pulled me down for a kiss that was deep and grateful and full of emotion. That was incredible, she whispered when we broke apart. You're incredible, you're pretty incredible yourself, I said. Smiling, she rolled us over so she was on top, straddling my hips, looking down at me with an expression that was part wonder, part determination. My turn, she said, and there was a promise in her voice that made heat pool low in my belly. Maya kissed me slowly, thoroughly, taking her time like we had all night, which I supposed we did. Her hands explored my body with curiosity and growing confidence, and I loved watching her discover what made me gasp, what made me arch into her touch. She was less experienced, but what she lacked in expertise she made up for in enthusiasm and attention. She learned quickly what I liked, paying attention to every sound I made, every movement of my body. When she finally touched me where I needed her most, I couldn't hold back the moan that escaped my lips. She smiled against my skin, clearly pleased with herself, and continued her exploration with fingers that were tentative but effective. Is this good? She asked, and I loved that she wanted to know, wanted to make sure I was enjoying this as much as she had. So good, I managed to say. You're doing so well, Maya, don't stop. She didn't. She brought me to the edge and over it. And the pleasure was intense, not just because of the physical sensation but because it was her Maya, who I'd wanted for so long. Maya who was looking at me like I was the most precious thing in the world. Afterward, we lay tangled together, skin to skin, hearts gradually slowing to normal rhythms. The candles had burned lower and the storm outside had passed, leaving only the steady patter of rain against the window. So, Maya said eventually, her fingers tracing idle patterns on my shoulder. That happened, I laughed. Yeah, it did. No regrets? None. I turned to face her, cupping her cheek in my hand. You, not even a little bit. She kissed me softly. Although I should probably confess something. What's that? I may have been hoping this would happen. I wore my nice underwear just in case. I burst out laughing, which made her laugh too, and soon we were both giggling like teenagers, the remaining tension dissolving completely. I'm glad you were prepared, I said when we'd calmed down. Though I have to admit, I wasn't expecting it. I thought I'd be spending tonight working on our project and daydreaming about you. Same as every other Tuesday and Thursday. About that, Maya said, her expression turning slightly more serious. What does this mean for us? I don't want this to be just a what-I'm thing, Sarah. I know we said this meant something, but I need to know what exactly it means to you. I understood her need for clarity. This was all new for her and she was probably feeling vulnerable. It means I want to date you, I said simply. Officially, publicly. I want to take you out to dinner and hold your hand in public and introduce you as my girlfriend. If you want that too, her face lit up. I want that. I really want that. Good. I kissed her forehead. Because I'm kind of crazy about you and I don't want to hide that. What about our project? She asked, a teasing note in her voice. What about it? Won't it be awkward now? Trying to work together when we can't keep our hands off each other? Maybe we just need to set some boundaries, I suggested. When we're working, we work. But before and after, I let the implication hang. I can live with that. She snuggled closer. Though I might need you to remind me of those boundaries, frequently. We must have fallen asleep at some point because I woke to sunlight streaming through my window, and Maya's arm draped over my waist. For a moment, I thought I might have dreamed the whole thing. But then Maya stirred and opened her eyes, and the smile that spread across her face when she saw me confirmed that it had all been beautifully. Wonderfully real, morning, she murmured. Her voice rough with sleep. Morning, I brushed a strand of hair from her face. How are you feeling? Happy, sore, and interesting places. A little nervous about what happens next. She was being honest, and I appreciated that. Is that weird? Not weird at all. I kissed her softly. We can take this at whatever pace feels right. There's no rush, I know. And I appreciate that. But I think I'm done being scared of this. She gestured between us. I spent so long denying who I was, trying to fit into what I thought I was supposed to be. Being with you last night, it felt like coming home. Like this is who I was always meant to be. My heart swelled. Maya, I love you, she said, and it sounded like both a confession and a revelation. I know it's fast, and maybe I'm supposed to wait to say that, but I don't want to. I love you, Sarah. I think I've loved you for a while now. I love you too, I said. Because it was true and because she deserved to hear it. I think I started falling for you the first time I saw you. And I've just been falling ever since. We kissed. Morning breath and all, and it was perfect eventually. We got up and ventured into the kitchen for breakfast. Maya wore one of my oversized t-shirts. And I had to resist the urge to just stare at her because she looked adorable. And impossibly sexy at the same time. I made coffee and toast. And we sat at my small kitchen table, our legs tangled together under the table, talking about everything and nothing. It felt natural, easy, like we'd been doing this for years instead of hours. I should probably tell my parents, Maya said, her coffee mug halfway to her lips. About being bi, I mean. About you, how do you think they'll react? I'm not sure. They're pretty traditional, but they're also, I don't know. I want to believe they'll be okay with it. That they'll just want me to be happy. She sounded uncertain. And I reached across the table to take her hand. Whatever happens, I'm here, I said. You don't have to do it alone, thank you. She squeezed my hand. What about your parents? Do they know you're gay? Yeah, I came out to them in high school. It wasn't easy, but they came around eventually. Now my mom asks me about my dating life like it's the most normal thing in the world. I paused. She's going to love you, by the way. You think so? I know so. She always said she wanted me to find someone smart and kind and ambitious. You're all of those things and more, Maya blushed. Which I was learning was one of my favorite looks on her. Stop, you're going to make me cry. Happy tears? The happiest. We spent most of Sunday together. Alternating between working on our project we did actually need to make progress, and getting distracted by each other. Every time we sat close together, ostensibly working, one of us would find an excuse to touch the other, and touching would lead to kissing. And kissing would lead to us abandoning our laptops entirely. By evening, we'd made decent progress on the project and even better progress on learning each other's bodies. We'd mapped out territories of sensitive skin, cataloged sounds and responses, created a new shared language of touch and breath. When Maya finally said she should probably head home, I felt an unexpected pang of loss. I know it's silly, I said as she gathered her things. You'll be back on Tuesday. It's not silly. She set down her bag and wrapped her arms around me. I don't want to leave either. But I have an early class tomorrow and I need to actually study for my exam, and if I stay. She trailed off meaningfully. I know. You're right, I kissed her. But I'm going to miss you. Miss me for today's and then I'm all yours again. She pulled back to look at me. Sarah, this is real, right? We're really doing this? We're really doing this, I confirmed. You're my girlfriend. I'm your girlfriend. This is happening, she grinned. I really like the sound of that. My girlfriend, me too. After she left, the apartment felt too quiet. I could still smell her perfume on my sheets, could still feel the ghost of her touch on my skin. I found myself smiling for no reason. Caught up in the surreal joy of it all. My phone buzzed with a text from Maya, home safe. Already missing you. Is it Tuesday yet? I replied, not soon enough. Sweet dreams, beautiful. Her response came immediately. Sweet dreams. I love you. I fell asleep that night holding my phone, rereading our conversation. Still hardly believing that the woman I'd been quietly pining for was now mine. Monday dragged by interminably. I went to my classes, took notes, participated in discussions, but my mind was only half present. The other half was thinking about Maya, replaying moments from the weekend. Counting down the hours until I'd see her again, I texted her between classes. Nothing profound, just little thoughts and observations that I wanted to share with her. She responded with equal enthusiasm, and I found myself grinning at my phone like an idiot in the middle of the campus quad. Who's got you smiling like that? My roommate just asked when I got home that afternoon. She'd returned from her boyfriend's place and was sprawled on our couch, looking at me with knowing eyes. Maya, I admitted because there was no point in hiding it. Jess sat up, suddenly alert. Maya, as in your project partner Maya? The one I've been telling you was totally into you? The very same. Oh my god. Tell me everything. She patted the couch beside her. And I mean everything. When did this happen? How did it happen? Are you together now? I sat down and told her an edited version of the weekend, enough to satisfy her curiosity, but keeping the more intimate details private. Even so, by the time I finished, she was practically vibrating with excitement. I knew it. She crowed. I knew there was something between you two. The way she looked at you when she thought you weren't paying attention, it was so obvious. Apparently not to me, I said wryly. That's because you're oblivious when it comes to people liking you. Remember that guy in our intro to sociology class who asked you out 3 times? Before you realized he was actually asking you out? That was different. Not really, she grinned. But I'm happy for you, Sarah, really happy. Maya seems great, and you deserve someone who makes you smile like that. Tuesday finally arrived, and I spent an embarrassing amount of time getting ready for what was supposedly just a regular study session. I changed my outfit 3 times before settling on jeans and a blue sweater that Maya had once complimented. When she knocked on my door at exactly 7, my heart rate spiked. I opened it to find her standing there with Thai takeout and a nervous smile. I thought we could eat dinner before we work, she said. And also, I missed you and wanted to see you sooner rather than later. I pulled her inside and kissed her, takeout and all. I missed you too, I said when we broke apart. So much. We ate dinner sitting close together on the couch, our legs touching, stealing kisses between bites of pad thai. It felt domestic and comfortable and right. I did something today, Maya said eventually, setting down her mostly empty container. Something scary. What's that? I told my best friend about us. About me being bi, about you, about everything. She was watching me carefully, as if gauging my reaction. How did it go? Better than I expected. She said she'd kind of wondered and she was happy for me. She wants to meet you, actually. I'd love to meet her, I said honestly. What about your parents? Not yet. I'm working up to it. She took my hand. But I'm going to. I don't want to hide us. I just need a little more time to figure out how to tell them. There's no rush, I assured her. Whenever you're ready. The next few weeks passed in a blur of happiness. We settled into a routine study sessions that were actually productive mostly. Dates to coffee shops and movies, and once to a museum, where Maya dragged me through 3 hours of ancient art, while explaining the significance of every piece. I loved watching her get excited about things she was passionate about. We kept our relationship private at first, not hiding it but not announcing it either. But gradually we became more open, holding hands on campus. Maya waiting for me after class. Me surprising her with coffee between lectures. People noticed. Some of them congratulated us. Others stared or whispered, but their reactions mattered less than I'd expected. What mattered was Maya's hand in mine, her smile when she saw me, the way she fit perfectly against my side. Maya finally came out to her parents 3 weeks after that first night. She called me afterward, crying, and my heart dropped. Are you okay? I asked urgently. What happened? I'm okay, she said, and I realized she was crying from relief, not sadness. They were really great about it, Sarah, my mom cried. But she said it was because she was worried I'd been hiding this. Because I thought they wouldn't love me. My dad said he didn't care who I dated as long as they treated me well. And they both said they want to meet you, they do? Yeah, I told them how amazing you are. And they want to meet the woman who makes their daughter so happy. Meeting Maya's parents was terrifying, but it went well. Her mother hugged me and told me she could see why Maya loved me. Her father was more reserved but kind, and by the end of the dinner, he was showing me embarrassing childhood photos of Maya while she protested. Our project was due at the end of the semester, and we got an A. Our professor commented that our analysis was insightful and our presentation was the most cohesive of any group. Clearly the result of excellent partnership and communication, if only she knew the half of it. Our friends started arriving around 7. Jess came first, naturally, bursting through the door with her boyfriend Tom and a bottle of expensive wine she definitely couldn't afford. Happy anniversary, she squealed, pulling both Maya and me into a hug. I can't believe it's been a year already. Neither can we, Maya said, smiling at me over Jess's shoulder. More people trickled in. Maya's best friend Rachel, a few people from our graduating class, some co-workers from our new jobs. Our tiny apartment was packed, but the energy was warm and celebratory. Rachel cornered me in the kitchen while I was refilling the snack bowls. I need to thank you, she said, her voice sincere. For what? For making Maya so happy. I've known her since freshman year, and I've never seen her like this, so comfortable in her own skin, so confident. That's because of you. I felt my cheeks warm. I think that's all, Maya. She did the hard work of accepting herself, maybe. But you gave her a safe place to land. You loved her exactly as she was. Rachel squeezed my arm. That matters more than you know. The evening progressed with laughter, stories, and more than a few glasses of wine. At some point, Jess insisted on telling the story of how she'd known Maya and I were perfect for each other. Before either of us had figured it out, I told Sarah, Jess announced to the room. Slightly tipsy, I told her that Maya was obviously into her. And what did she say? You're reading too much into it, can you believe that? Everyone laughed, including Maya, who was tucked under my arm on the couch in Sarah's defense. Maya said, I was trying really hard to hide it. I thought I was being subtle? Rachel snorted. Maya, you stared at her like a lovesick puppy every time you thought no one was looking. I did not. You absolutely did, I confirmed, kissing her temple. It's okay. I was doing the same thing as the night wound down and people started leaving. Maya and I stood at the door saying goodbye to our friends. Jess was the last to leave, giving us both long hugs. You two are it for me, she said, her eyes a little glassy. You're proof that real love exists. Don't ever forget that. After she left, Maya and I cleaned up in comfortable silence, moving around each other with the ease of practice. When the apartment was back in order, Maya went to our bedroom and returned with a small wrapped box. I got you something, she said. Looking suddenly shy, Maya, we said no gifts, I know. But I saw this and I couldn't resist. She pressed the box into my hands. Open it. Inside was a delicate silver necklace with a small pendant, a tiny lightning bolt. For the storm that brought us together, Maya explained. I know it's cheesy, but it's perfect, I interrupted, my eyes stinging with tears. Help me put it on? She fastened it around my neck, her fingers gentle against my skin. When I turned to face her, she was smiling that soft smile I loved so much. I have something for you too, I admitted. I also broke the no gifts rule. I retrieved a small box from my nightstand drawer and handed it to her. Inside was a key, not just any key, but an antique skeleton key I'd found at a flea market. Attached to a keychain. It's the key to my heart, I said, then laughed at how corny it sounded. God, that was terrible. What I meant to say is you have all of me, Maya, every part. This is just a symbol, but I wanted you to have something physical to represent that. She was crying now, happy tears streaming down her face. I love it. I love you too. We stood there in our little apartment holding each other. The city lights twinkling through our window. This was our life now, not perfect, but real and full, and ours. Not everything was always easy. As our second year together began, we faced the normal challenges any couple encounters. Plus a few unique to us. Maya's relationship with her parents was complicated. They'd accepted her sexuality, accepted me, but there was still an undercurrent of discomfort. They asked questions that felt intrusive, made comments that stung even when they weren't meant to. After one particularly difficult dinner with them, Maya came home quiet and withdrawn. They asked when I was going to stop experimenting, she said, her voice flat. My mom actually used that word. Like this is just a phase. I pulled her close, feeling her pain like it was my own. I'm sorry. That's not fair to you. The worst part is that I know they're trying. They really are. But sometimes trying isn't enough, you know? Sometimes I just want them to fully accept this, accept us. Without the comments or the questions or the looks, they might get there eventually, I offered. Though I wasn't sure I believed it, and if they don't? She pulled back to look at me and I saw fear in her eyes. What if they never fully accept this? Accept you? Then we deal with it together, I said firmly. Maya, I'm not going anywhere. Your parents' acceptance would be nice, but it's not required. What's required is us, you and me, choosing each other every day, she nodded. But I could see she was still hurting. It would take time, I knew. Healing always did. We also faced challenges at work. I worked in marketing for a small tech startup. And while my team was generally progressive, there were moments of casual homophobia that stung, jokes that weren't quite jokes. Assumptions about my life that didn't include the possibility of a female partner. Maya worked at a nonprofit. And while the organization itself was LGBTQ friendly, she dealt with clients who sometimes expressed disapproval when they saw the photo of us. She kept on her desk. We learned to navigate these challenges together. We celebrated the good days and supported each other through the hard ones. We learned when to fight and when to let things go. We learned that love wasn't just the easy moments in candlelight, it was also choosing each other in the harsh light of day, even when things were difficult. As our second year together progressed, we both grew in ways we hadn't expected. Maya became more involved in LGBTQ+ advocacy, joining a local organization that supported young people coming out. She told me it was her way of providing the support system she'd wished she'd had. When she was first questioning her sexuality, I watched her speak at a panel for college students, sharing her story with honesty and grace, and I fell in love with her all over again. She was so brave, so willing to be vulnerable in service of helping others. You were amazing today. I told her afterward. She shrugged, but I could see she was pleased. I just told the truth. About being scared, about taking the risk anyway, about how worth it was. You gave those kids hope. That's not nothing for my part. I started writing something I'd always wanted to do but never had the courage to pursue seriously. I wrote essays about being gay, about finding love, about the small moments that make up a life. Maya encouraged me every step of the way, reading my drafts and offering thoughtful feedback. When I finally submitted an essay to a small literary magazine and it was accepted, Maya threw me an impromptu celebration, complete with champagne and a cake that said published author. In wobbly frosting letters, "I'm so proud of you," she said, her eyes shining. "You're doing it, Sarah. You're chasing your dreams. We both are," I pointed out. "We're building the lives we want." It was Maya who brought up marriage first. Almost 2 years into our relationship, we were lying in bed on a lazy Sunday morning, tangled together in our sheets, when she said, "Do you ever think about getting married?" My heart skipped. "Sometimes, do you?" "Yeah," she traced patterns on my arm. "I know it's traditional and maybe not everyone's thing, but I like the idea of it. The commitment, the celebration, the standing up in front of everyone and saying this is my person. I like that idea too," I admitted. "Is this a hypothetical conversation or, I don't know," she said honestly. "I guess I'm trying to figure out if we're on the same page. If this is something you'd want with me." I shifted so I could look her in the eyes. "Maya, I want everything with you. Marriage, a future, all of it. The only question is when, not if," she smiled. That brilliant smile that still made my stomach flutter. "Good, because I'm planning to keep you around for a very long time." "How long?" "Forever, if you'll have me." Forever sounds perfect. We didn't get engaged that day, but the conversation stayed with me. I started thinking about how I wanted to propose. What would be meaningful to Maya? What would feel right for us? I spent weeks planning, consulting with Rachel and Jess, hunting for the perfect ring. I wanted it to be special, to honor our story while looking toward our future. In the end, I decided to propose on the anniversary of that first night 3 years after the power went out, and changed everything. I took her to dinner at a nice restaurant, then suggested a walk despite the cold December air. I led her to the park near our first apartment, the one we'd walked through countless times during our college days. "Why are we here?" Maya asked, confused but playing along. "Because this is where it started," I said. "Not literally, that was my old apartment, but this park was where we had our first real date. Remember? You wanted to feed the ducks and I told you that you weren't supposed to feed them bread. But you did it anyway." She laughed at the memory. "In my defense, those ducks looked hungry. They always look hungry. That's their strategy." I took her hands in mine, suddenly nervous despite all my planning. "Maya, 3 years ago, a storm knocked out my power and gave me the courage to tell you how I felt. It was the scariest and best thing I've ever done." "Sarah, let me finish," I said gently. "Every day since then has been a gift. You've made me braver, kinder, more myself. You've stood by me through challenges and celebrated my victories like they were your own. You've let me do the same for you. We've built a life together and I don't want to spend a single day of my future without you in it." I pulled out the ring box and Maya's hands flew to her mouth. "Maya Rodriguez, will you marry me?" She was crying, nodding, trying to speak, but the words weren't coming out. Finally, she managed, "Yes, yes. Of course yes." I slipped the ring onto her finger, a simple band with a small diamond. Elegant and understated. Just like her, and then we were kissing and laughing and crying all at once. "I love you so much," she said between kisses. "I can't believe when did you How long have you been planning this?" "Months," I admitted. "Since that conversation in bed, I knew I wanted to marry you. I just had to figure out how to ask. You could have asked me while we were doing laundry and I would have said yes," she said. But she was smiling. "But this is perfect." So perfect, we stood there in the cold park, wrapped in each other's arms. The future stretching out before us, bright and full of promise. Planning a wedding turned out to be both more fun and more stressful than either of us had anticipated. We wanted something small and intimate, just close friends and family. But even a small wedding required decisions about venues, food, music, flowers, and 1,000 other details that seemed both important and completely arbitrary. "Do people really care about chair covers?" Maya asked one evening, staring at her laptop in bewilderment. "I don't think so. But apparently they're a thing we're supposed to have opinions about." I vote no chair covers. Decision made. Moving on. We made a pact to keep things simple and focused on what mattered, celebrating our love with the people who mattered most. When we started to get overwhelmed, we reminded each other of that. Maya's parents were involved in the planning, which was both helpful and complicated. Her mother had strong opinions about everything from the color scheme to the menu. And while we appreciated her input, Sometimes it felt like we were planning her dream wedding instead of ours. She means well, Maya said after a particularly intense phone call about flower arrangements. She's excited. This is her only daughter getting married, I know. And I want her to be part of it. I just also want it to feel like us, you know? We found a balance eventually, incorporating some of her mother's ideas while staying true to our vision. It wasn't always easy, but it was worth it to see how happy it made Maya's parents to be included. My parents, in contrast, were laid back about the whole thing. My mom's only request was that we have good food. And my dad said he just wanted to walk me down the aisle and make a speech. Your family is so chill, Maya said enviously after a planning session with my parents, where they'd approved everything we suggested. They learned to pick their battles when I came out in high school, I said. After that, everything else seemed easy. 6 months of planning flew by. And suddenly it was the week of our wedding. I woke up on our wedding day in my childhood bedroom. As per tradition, Maya was staying with her parents and we'd agreed not to see each other until the ceremony. Jess, my maid of honor, bounded into my room at 7 a.m. with coffee and pastries. Wedding day, she announced. How are you feeling? Nervous, excited, impatient. I took the coffee gratefully. Is it normal to want to skip straight to being married? Completely normal. But trust me, you'll want to remember today. Every detail. She was right. The day unfolded in a series of perfect moments. Getting ready with my bridesmaids, my mother helping me into my dress, my father seeing me and immediately tearing up. You look so beautiful, he said, his voice thick. I'm so proud of you, Sarah. So happy you found Maya. The ceremony was at a small garden venue, intimate and lovely. As I walked down the aisle with my father, I saw Maya waiting for me. And everything else fell away. She was wearing a white suit that fit her perfectly. Her hair styled elegantly, and she was looking at me like I was the only person in the world. I'd never seen anything more beautiful. When we reached the altar, my father kissed my cheek and placed my hand in Maya's. Her fingers trembled slightly as they closed around mine. Hi, she whispered, hi yourself. The ceremony was short and sweet. We'd written our own vows, and when it was my turn to speak, I looked into Maya's eyes and said, Maya, 3 years ago, I was too scared to tell you how I felt. I thought love was supposed to be safe and comfortable, that taking risks only led to heartbreak. But you taught me that the biggest risk is not loving at all. You taught me to be brave. Today, I'm choosing you not because it's safe or easy, but because you're my favorite adventure. My best decision, my home. I promise to love you through storms and sunshine, through power outages and ordinary Tuesdays. Through all the moments that make up a life. I promise to be your partner, your confidant, your biggest cheerleader. I promise to choose you every day for all the days I have. Maya was crying, which made me cry, and when she spoke her vows, her voice was shaky but strong. Sarah, you once said that the night we got together was the scariest and best thing you'd ever done. I feel the same way. Loving you has been the scariest, best, most transformative experience of my life. You've seen me at my worst and loved me anyway. You've celebrated my victories and held me through my defeats. You've made me braver than I ever thought I could be. Today, I promise to be worthy of your love. I promise to support your dreams and share your burdens. I promise to laugh with you, cry with you, and build a life with you that honors both of us. I promise to love you fiercely and gently, passionately and patiently. Today and all my tomorrows, when the officiant pronounced us married and told us we could kiss, we did so to enthusiastic applause from our guests. It was sweet and tender and perfect, a kiss that tasted like tears and joy and forever. 5 years of marriage, 8 years together total. Sometimes it still feels surreal that the woman I was afraid to confess my feelings to is now my wife, my partner in everything. We've bought a house, a real house with a yard and a mortgage and creaky floorboards that we plan to fix someday. We've adopted a dog, a rescue mutt named Storm, Maya's idea. And I couldn't say no to the symbolism. Maya still works in advocacy, now as a director at her nonprofit. She's become a recognized voice in LGBTQ+ rights, speaking at conferences and writing articles that reach thousands of people. Watching her step into her power has been one of the greatest privileges of my life. I've published a collection of essays about love and identity, dedicated to my wife, who taught me what courage looks like. It didn't become a bestseller, but it found its readers, people who wrote to tell me that my words helped them feel less alone. We still have our challenges. Maya's parents have come a long way, but there are still moments of tension. We still face discrimination sometimes. Still have to navigate a world that doesn't always understand or accept us. But we face it together. Tonight, we're curled up on our couch. Storm snoring at our feet, a storm raging outside. The power flickers but holds. Remember our first storm? Maya asks, as if reading my mind. How could I forget? Changed my whole life, mine too. She shifts to look at me, and even after all these years, The love in her eyes still takes my breath away. If you could go back and do it differently, would you? Not a single thing I say without hesitation. Every moment, every choice, every risk led us here. I wouldn't change any of it. Not even the awkward Tuesday study sessions where we were both trying so hard to be professional. Especially not those. The anticipation made finally being together even sweeter. She laughs and kisses me. And it's as electric as it was that first time. As thrilling as every kiss we've shared since. I love you, she says. I love you too, always. The storm rages on outside. But we're safe and warm inside our home, wrapped in each other and the life we've built. The power stays on tonight, but even if it didn't, we'd be okay. We have each other. And that's all the light we need.